That's not what Jesus and the disciples think about, though, okay? They did not know Mama and Papa Tom. They also did not know salt in a container like this, okay? And so, listen, this is one of the biggest ways. This is kind of an aside from the message, but it's so important for you to grasp. If you want to study the Bible well, if you want to study the Bible, really dive deep into God's Word, be careful about how you handle it. Okay? Our natural tendency is, because we're busy people, we want to open the Bible and say, God, speak to me. And we ask God to speak to us, and He will. But if you want to study the Bible, you don't study the Bible and think about yourself. You first have to think about the people in the thing. Okay? You got to put yourself into the text. And so when Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth, the natural tendency for us is to go, I know what salt is. It comes in a shaker. Yeah, I know what salt is. I can skip the work there. But what you got to recognize is that whenever we run across an analogy or a phrase or people in the Bible, we need to keep them in their day. It may take a little research and a little thinking from a study Bible or a commentary or some online resource. But whenever you discover what's really going on, what did they mean by salt, then we can discover the meaning, and then we can travel 2,000 years to today and go, what does this mean for us? But there's two steps that you often skip if you just jump right to ourselves. And so I want to show you why this is so important, and here's why. How can this be less salty? It doesn't. Salt is salt. Salt is salt is salt. There's no way to make salt less salty. It's a chemical. We know that now. All right? And so in Jesus' day, for some of y'all do no salt. You don't have to raise your hand. Bless your heart. I know it's tough to have sodium issues, but no salt's just not good. And bless your heart if you have to use that. But for the most part, salt is salt. And so the first century salt was mainly used as a preservative. The flavoring was a secondary benefit. The main thing that was used was a preservative. Okay, it was before the technology of electricity and also refrigerators. And oftentimes, even a long time ago, they would dig deep holes and would kind of get cold. That ain't happening in Jesus' area, okay? There's no cold area. It's a hot climate. And so there's no way to keep imagine catching a big mess of fish. That's why you just tried to sell them. You kept enough for your family, you'd try to sell them because there's no good way. But they did use salt, okay? And so in Jesus' region, they didn't have Hain Pure Foods sea salt or Morton's iodized. What they had was the Dead Sea. They had the Dead Sea, which was a large lake that was heavy salt content, okay? Think the Gulf, like double the salt in the Gulf, and there you go. It was just a lot of salt in the water. And so what would happen is throughout the year, the banks of the Dead Sea would overflow its banks, and what would naturally